Trigonometry straight into astrophysics in under, I don't know, 30 seconds. All right, so I haven't really watched much of this yet, but I did watch something, and I kind of got into the Fermi balls. He's going to talk about them, and the only thing I heard, and this is something from some of us astrophysicists that know it, is that dark matter might be made out of little black holes. But let's take a look at this diagram right here. This is a pretty decent interpretation of what the cosmic web looks like. And I know that because this wonderful person, Anton, right here, he has taught me so. And I have Pavlovian my way through skid steer Stockholm syndrome to pick up the pallet and put it where in its proper pallet position when the information comes up. So, what are we looking at here? I mean, let's Hubble deep field this for a second. Do you think that if that's what it looks like here, that would just be a deep cosmic space? Or would it eventually focus onto a point right here, given the lensing of how much isn't there? You know, doesn't that act at the cosmic level on the macro micro as essentially a lensing product? Because this thing would just be a hot mess of cosmic radiation background in some of those fields, but
Hello, wonderful person, this is Anton, and today we're going to be talking about another theory that tries to explain the potential origin of the mysterious dark matter. Where did it come from, and what exactly is it made out of? And in this case, we're going to be focusing on this very theoretical concept.
I usually need the book for this.
Dark matter
this is where you start doing like side patterns and back patterns and stuff like that, and I forgot what they were.
Find in the description propose a relatively complex explanation involving a lot of particle physics and a lot of ideas from the changes in the early universe. But I figured it's still a pretty cool explanation, still a pretty good idea, pretty solid idea.
You can get energy out of it that makes heat for you to make you survive because you're at this level of distension from
the collapse of
the Big
Fermi
Bang.
balls. And it tries to explain the mysterious dark matter as what's known as
there's some theoretical things, but I don't want to give astrophysics.
First, quick side note.
I don't.
We still
That would
have
be
no
the
idea
fun
what
in
dark
that,
matter
you know.
really is. We obviously see the effects of the mysterious
I could tell
dark
them,
matter,
take them on a
such as
rabbit
the
trap,
expected
and then they could
versus
outsmart somebody that,
rotation
we need to
across
know
various
that for some
galaxies.
reason. I want to make them work
Some
for it. If
unexpected
it's in there, they got to
effects
find it on
from
their
the
own. I'm not
invisible
going
mass
to
in
just
the
give it
middle
to
of
them.
different clusters that shouldn't really be there. With a lot
Anton
of other
will be
observations
just
we
fine.
discussed in some of the previous videos. But the problem here is that, for the
well,
past few decades,
black holes and
despite
suns,
many different experiments, no particle has been discovered to try to explain all of this. For example, one of the most common theories uses what's known as WIMPs, weakly interactive massive particles. And this is supposed to be the explanation for how dark matter works.
So, you know how
with the other common
soft
explanation being
does
another
5
particle known as
languages
X-naught.
and,
But though theoretically they do
you
make
know,
sense,
just knows
none of the
math and
experiments so far
chemistry
have
and
found
physics and
anything.
pretty much
No
can
WIMPs or
MacGyver their
X-naughts
way
have
out
been
of a
found,
locked janitor
despite
closet.
many different attempts to
There you
find
go.
them. And naturally, because of this, there are
You
several
couldn't force your
explanations
way
to
through
dark
it, you gotta
matter.
finesse it.
The most popular, or I
That
guess
would
the most
be
famous one, is
Epson's
known as
energy
Planck.
black hole generator.
But
You
they
have to
don't
quantify
explain
the
everything. As a matter
problem,
of fact,
know
some
the
things they cannot
values of
explain
it,
at all. And
get the
because of this, not
ratios
everyone, or
correct,
actually
which
most
doesn't
scientists do
mean
accept them.
pinpoint
The
5
dark
sigma.
matter
It
still
means
is believed to be some sort of a particle.
if you pour water on the
Or
door handle, it
maybe
won't do
a
anything,
tiny
but
black
in the
hole.
broom closet,
As
if
a
you
matter of
got
fact, Stephen
drain
Hawking
cleaner,
himself always believed that it was
and
primordial black holes.
you're able
Now,
to
there's a video from a couple of
it's
years ago
sulfuric
where the
acid.
Japanese
Now,
scientists
you
tried
may
to
not be
investigate
Nile
this
red
idea,
and
they did so
have
in
one
a
of these
very
things
clever way.
handy, a
They
heating
wanted to see if
mantle
there are
and
really
a
these primordial black
beaker,
holes, or at least some sorts of black
distilling
holes,
apparatus,
traveling across the
and
Andromeda
so on
galaxy.
and so
And
forth.
so they looked
But
at the
yeah,
Andromeda galaxy
it's what it is. It's a
long period of
centrifuge.
time,
It's
and they tried to
if you do the
discover
bits and
any
bites
kind
of a
signs
distilling
these
apparatus,
primordial black holes
it still
by looking
does
at
what a
the
centrifuge
gravitational
does. It
lens
has
effects
to ramp
of
up
various
to a
invisible
certain
dense objects
RPMs.
moving
It
in
has to
front of
ramp up
different
to a
stars.
certain
Now,
temperature
they've only
of
found
that
one,
element's
even though they expected
composition
thousands.
and bits
this
and bytes
implied
to
them
the
that there
quadrants
were
of
no
those things.
massive black holes,
So
or
you
just
have
black
the
holes
wrong
in the
temperature,
range of
0.
the mass of
You
our
have the
sun,
right
or
temperature.
possibly a
You have
few
the
masses
wrong
of
speed.
Jupiter
You have the right
traveling
speed.
in the Andromeda galaxy.
It might be limited
also
in
implied that
a
the larger
AU
black
or
holes
yeah,
could not
AU,
explain
AX,
dark matter.
AV,
And normal black holes, the so-called
AY,
stellar black holes, definitely
AW,
cannot
AZ
explain anything.
function, which
You would
means
have
like
to have
even though the
all of them
centrifuge
everywhere, and would be able
Paris
to
Island
see them in
goes
many
at a
different
constant
surveys
rate,
we've
it
already
still
conducted.
separates
As a matter of fact, just
the
in terms of
largest
the
end
numbers
from
of the
that
stars in the
and
galaxy,
the smallest
there are
end
just not
from
enough stars
that.
to produce all of these black holes. Nevertheless, primordial black holes.
It's like just graph Paris Island. You're gonna wish you had an astrophysics lab. You're gonna wish you were pushing.
It could also be a lot less massive and thus invisible, or at least somewhat invisible. And because of this,
you think you know Carl Sagan. You don't know Carl Sagan.
Established that if there are primordial black holes, they have
you're gonna
to
get
be
this universal loaf running just hard. Now we could go anywhere. It's what? Gold, silver, uranium, platinum, whatever supernova state of that thing. You could get into how X-rays and high energy radio bursts affect, mutate the decay state of an element and how they collide with each other and turn off the timeline of certain stars. More so at the 5 signal level, obviously that shock wave or whatever comes through there plays an effect. And as you're trying to decipher all that AI-04 for the SCP Foundation, first you're going to dust the tardigrades inside of there at Paris Island. You're going to sprinkle a little seasoning on them real good to keep them from growing too fast on boot camp, you know what I mean? And then you're going to work through the processes of just this process. You can't do all the obstacles at once. And because the orientation and position of the NP problem, how we organize and define certain problems.
And in each of those fields,
they're all in their right, their own bits and bytes to solutions. A problem is a solution. That is the IH value of what we quantify it to be. That is its name in the smallest form, but we don't have a result for it, right? We gotta determine what that is. So I love the practice. You get all this spooky monsters under the sheet of the stone mill. I call her Blue. That was my stone mill. That's what she was in her entirety of me doing certain parts, the soil, the mechanics, the trucking, the quarry, the buyer, the installers, the marketing of the stone, the physics of that building, the timelines, and that thing's coming at you like a black hole, man. That thing is just each of those are a singularity. They have a single point that files down to a number, and that number could mean multiple things. 24, 33.
That would not exist in modern universe. We're going to think of these particles as the tiny crystals of salt that are present everywhere in every ocean on the planet.
Yep,
they sure are. We have the liquid ocean and we have the salt. Now, normally on Earth, as the temperature increases,
you're doing good when you can get two guys going at it like this, and it just kind of it just lattices real nice together like that. And
transition their state. They started to experience phase transition. And so in this case, the liquid water is going to be turning into gas. It's going to start evaporating. But just like with water, it doesn't just suddenly happen everywhere. When you boil water, it doesn't just
I've already made the description to Anton here. I said he's an O-type star in astrophysics. Why? Can you name any other? Well, I can't. Space-time, physics girl. But the thing is, there's probably more than one O-type star in this universe, and on that black body problem, for numbers of mentions in astrophysics, they look the same on the Hubble 45 in deep field.
And once all of the water is gone, you get something like this. And so something
I'm going to finish watching this,
happens according to the scientists in this paper.